We are at an inflection point, and the choices that we make in the coming year are going to significantly impact the world in which we live. And so our mission is to enable brands to take action individually at your companies and also together as a CMO community to use marketing for positive impact in a way that drives growth.
The challenge that the marketing fraternity is facing today is nothing but a clear and present danger.
There is no doubt that with all of the power of the collective CMOs, if we work collaboratively, we can solve these problems.
It is timely that all of us together must take charge in trying to rewrite that destiny that we're facing today going forward.
The myriads of conversations that we go through when we get together as CMOs, and this unification now provides us with a very distinct lens by which we be able to understand the direction we need to go and the machines we need to activate to be able to propel that growth.
The real question is, what do we change into what sort of directions going forward from now?
Earlier this week, I had the great privilege of joining more than 300 CMOs from around the world to take part in a seminal event. I have taken away some significant learnings that I'm going to implement in my day job at MasterCard. And I know it'll have a great impact on our entire industry. This summit raised the bar to transform marketing as an engine for accelerating economic growth as well as societal good. With driving growth at its core, the summit was led by Mark Pritchard, who, as you all know, is the Chief Brand Officer of Procter & Gamble, and CMO delegates representing thousands of the world's top brands, many of them from your own companies and your own brands, combining nearly half of all global advertising and media spending, addressed all the key issues, and agreed to key actions to take within their own companies to advance a leadership agenda with 4 key growth priorities. These are data, technology, and measurement. That's 1. Second, brand experience, creativity, and media. Third, talent development and organization. And fourth, society and sustainability. As chief marketers, we really hold a privileged responsibility to actively participate in our leadership community. Right now, it is urgent that our collective actions advance bold growth agenda that will accelerate business growth with a positive impact on our society. So when hundreds of us came together at the Global Growth Council Summit this past Monday, we did so as a united force for growth, but more importantly, as also a force for good. Together, we represented thousands of the world's top brands, which combine, as I said, more than half of all the global advertising and media spending. To prepare for this seminal event, we worked together in groups over the summer and to prioritize the urgent and immediate actions to accelerate growth that will endure over the long term. This basically requires 2 fundamental things. Number 1, action, and number 2, infrastructure. Action, basically each priority that we have, it requires the personal commitment from the hundreds of CMOs participating in the summit to adopt the plan and pursue the recommended actions. The sum of these collective actions will create a forceful impact at a global scale. Second, infrastructure. At the direction of the 4 leadership teams, ANA and its partners throughout the industry have developed corresponding operational business systems that will enable the systemic change that will endure over time. So now we will hear about these 4 strategic roadmaps, which on Monday at the Global CMO Growth Council, it gained the commitment of the community of chief marketing officers And I'm pleased to introduce to you my fellow CMOs who have been working so hard for the past several months on behalf of our industry. This team of leaders have been joined by about 200 CMOs who have given their time and focus to driving the outcomes that will help us truly become a force for good and a force for growth. Please welcome Marcel Marcondes, U.S. Chief Marketing Officer for Anheuser-Busch, Michelle Peluso, she is the SVP and Chief Digital Sales and Chief Marketing Officer of IBM, Julia Golden, she is the Global Chief Marketing Officer of the Lego Group, and last but not the least, Mark Pritchard, Chief Brand Officer, Procter & Gamble. He is also obviously the ANA Chair, and he is the Global CMO Growth Council Chair as well.
The craft of marketing has never been more essential. And as the voice of the consumer and trustee of the brand, it is important that we make the most of this moment and transform marketing, elevate our craft, reform the media ecosystem, and drive measurable business growth. So which are the actions we're taking? Let's talk about mandate number 1, revolutionizing marketing as B4H. On Monday, a group of over 300 CMOs agreed to a formal shift in how the role of marketing is defined. We agreed on a paradigm shift from B2B or B2C to B4H, brands for humans. Marketing exists to create preference for a brand by making a meaningful difference for the humans it serves. Aligned with the Business Roundtable's priority of stakeholder capitalism, we each strive to apply a consumer-centric, people-first mindset for everything we do. We believe B4H, with the people-first strategy, is a more accurate and appropriate reflection of marketing's role in driving business growth that has a positive impact on society. At its core is the need to tap into deep human insights to deliver enterprise-wide value for the people we serve in a way that drives growth. To create the change we need, we will socialize the B4H ethos among the global community of chief marketers and through our partners within the industry. We will collectively work to create a more fundamental alignment among the general business community, as well as to reframe how marketing is perceived and taught in academia. Mandate number 2, elevating our marketing craft. With this reframed understanding of marketing's role, CMOs and industry leaders must now turn efforts towards the more deliberate and universal adoption of best practices that will help all deliver more growth. To enable this ongoing dialogue in a productive way, the Global CMO Growth Council is calling on its community of leaders to actively participate in a collaborative peer exchange forum that will benefit each CMO, their brands, and also our industry. Introducing the Global CMO Growth Council Exchange. This will commence immediately, and it will also feature one-to-one peer connections. This is a database of CMOs from around the world to connect with one another in an exchange of insights, lessons learned, and advice. Industry gatherings. Launching the first Brand for Humans Summit in spring 2021, for CMOs and industry leaders will convene on best practices and future implications. The CMO Growth Council Exchange is open and active right now. Please see anamastercircle.com for details on how to register. Now let's talk about actions for mandate number 3, establishing the financial value of a brand. So, how do we create a common currency among marketing and our C-suite counterparts, especially in finance? Our first step is to go back to the basics and create an industry RFP in collaboration with partners who have made the most progress towards this objective, from among the finance community, brand consultancies, and recognized standards board. Then we will determine how this can be applied and replicated for brands, different categories, businesses, and company size. We all agree the solution needs to be easy, repeatable, meaningful, up and down, reliable, and also transparent. Now, mandate number 4, actions to transform the media ecosystem. Simply put, and similar to many areas in many industries operating in a new normal, our media ecosystem needs a modern makeover. Our main action right now as CMO is to support and amplify the progress of the ANA's Media Advisory Board, comprised of senior media leaders, premier specialists, and chief marketers to drive media transformation for the whole industry.
Our mission is to harness the power of promise of data and technology to make sure every marketer can achieve their peak performance. We really have 4 objectives and mandates. The first one is to optimize and create transparency in the programmatic media supply chain and the digital ecosystem. This frustrates all of us to no end, but studies show that on average, only about 45 cents of every dollar spent on digital advertising makes its way to the publisher and therefore to the end consumer. A working team is already deep in understanding the various parts of the media supply chain and developing a unified playbook for efficiency and effectiveness, a path of standards for all CMOs to follow. The goal is very concrete. We believe that we can find 10 points of efficiency out of this 45 cents on the dollar, get that to 55 cents on the dollar. Now that would equate to a savings of $10 billion for our entire industry. We want to do that in 6 months. We want to do things like renegotiate fees, examine third-party data costs, and leverage agencies for transparency. I am so passionate and excited. I've seen some early work from this team, and I know the real savings are out there. Second, and beyond that, by the way, there's all sorts of places we can use technology like blockchain to get the next 10 cents. Secondly, we want to transform the digital media ecosystem to be addressable, especially as we move to a cookieless and an Apple IDFA-less ecosystem. So helping marketers prepare for the move to a cookieless world by relying on first-party data, privacy-safe identification data through the Partnership for Responsible Addressable Media. This is an enormous change facing our industry, and we need our marketers knowledgeable, expert, and at the table as we make decisions. Third, we want to create a robust cross-platform measurement system for advertising essential metrics. All of us are under the gun every day to say, what's the return on our investment? And the ANA has initiated a cross-platform measurement task force that includes marketers, networks, and platforms. And we're expanding to include agencies and measurement companies over time. The cross-platform measurement pilot will be introduced by September 2021, I hope before then. But this is critical for all of us as we think more and more about how to measure the impact of the work we do and how to know what our next best actions are. And finally, you can't do any of this if we don't also lead the business and cultural transformation that's empowered by data and technology. Developing best practices framework and universal methodologies will help CMOs achieve the ideal state of agility and help CMOs create an organizational structure and environment that leverages data and tech at full potential for all teams, which really means cultural transformation, operational agility, and acting at the speed of digital, an imperative thrust on all of us more than ever with the global pandemic.
Our mission is to drive growth through increased leadership focus on organizational development from the initial talent pipeline through the current marketing organization to CMO growth. With this mission in mind, we came up with 4 critical mandates. Number 1, to achieve diversity and inclusion in our marketing organizations to represent the diverse global markets and communities that we serve. We feel that this is a very urgent mandate, especially today. And we need collective actions that will help us to actually increase diversity and inclusion throughout our organizations and throughout the whole marketing ecosystem. This requires individual effort and commitment on behalf of every CMO in our network, but it also will require industry support. And importantly, we want this whole ecosystem to also include our agency and supplier communities. A few key highlights of what we're going to establish with the support of the industry. 1, diversity and inclusion metrics and benchmarks for the whole industry. So we can actually use them regardless of what marketplace we're in to establish relevant metrics for us to actually measure and target our success. Secondly, method for collection of diversity and inclusion data for our industry. And then lastly, universally accepted process in order to hold ourselves accountable to actually increase both diversity and inclusion internally and within the whole marketing ecosystem. It goes without saying that one of the key things that we can do as an industry is also to ensure that we are rapidly sharing and scaling best practices, because they involve not just diversity in our recruitment and expanding our organizations and changing them, but also inclusivity training and development so that everybody that we bring into our organizations can thrive. The second big area is rescoping marketing internally to ensure that our marketing teams are being skilled and developed in key competencies. The recognition here is that marketing as a skill in itself has to go through continuous evolution. We can't go through another situation where marketing becomes marginalized and suddenly we have digital as another discipline or media as another discipline. We need to embrace all of these disciplines and ensure that we're evolving our organizations and transforming our capabilities to take advantage and address the changes that are happening in the external environment. So in order to do this, we need to transform and upgrade our capabilities, the competency model, the organizational models, and the training internally that supports this. And as an industry, we want to work to create robust career mapping and investigate the creation of an industry-wide marketing certification. Third, and very importantly, we need to rescope marketing externally so we can attract a much wider base of talent to the marketing industry. Right now, it is not happening because many people, and a lot of them come from very diverse backgrounds, look at the marketing discipline and don't see themselves as being able to be successful because they don't see themselves represented enough in the marketing industry. They also don't see marketing as a particularly attractive category to go into in terms of their schooling. We need to change that. That's in our hands. We need to connect CMOs to classrooms and make sure that the curriculum in major universities starts reflecting what is actually really essential to succeed in the real world. We need to make sure that the educational curriculum reflects our real life experiences and also sets us up for success. And what we want to do is to make sure that we leverage ANA's educational foundation to build bridges between the industry and the academic community. And needless to say, this also involves us being able to market ourselves, which we should be able to do as marketers, to a wide range of high schools and potential students, both into universities and also into internships and eventually into careers in marketing. And the last very important point is we want to develop CMOs to drive more growth. CMO today is a challenging job, and we need to be better prepared in order to navigate the demands of the C-suite and in order to have a seat at the table that is about value creation and growth creation for the company. And in order to be able to facilitate that, we want to learn from each other. And you probably have heard already how much learning we can bring to each other in other areas that were discussed today. So we want to cement this by launching CMO Growth Council Exchange, which will actually create a roster and a database of CMOs and enable us to actually have subject matter experts that we can learn from. So all of these actions are going to help us to actually advance on this particular priority, which is growing talent and establishing more diverse organizations. Please join us in helping us to achieve these mandates for your companies and for our industry and for our marketing ecosystem.
Our mission is to enable brands to be a force for good and a force for growth by using marketing for positive impact on society in a way that drives growth. Now, why does that matter? Well, because people expect more from brands and companies. And this has never been more evident than the expectations for brands and companies to step up during the pandemic and with the heightened expectations to address systemic racism and inequality. And when done well, doing good for society can not only help fix problems, but it can also drive growth by creating economic opportunities for more people, which leads to greater purchasing power and more economic prosperity. And many of the best performing brands are those who are building doing good for society into how they do business. Now, how will we take action? Our top priority is to use marketing to promote equality and inclusion to achieve a better world for humanity and more growth for our business. Now, we have 4 key action steps that serve as a roadmap for you. I'm going to go through them. Step 1, achieve equal representation in the media and creative supply chain. Now, this includes marketers, agencies, production crews, and media providers that create, distribute, and monetize advertising programs and content. This step means at every link in the chain, at every level, we aspire to achieve equal gender representation, 50% women, 50% men, and representation of race and ethnicity equal to the U.S. population, 13% Black, 18% Hispanic, 6% Asian Pacific, 2% Native American, for a combined 40% multicultural. Equal representation results in greater creativity and innovation. It builds access to opportunity and leads to equity in income and wealth creation. This leads to purchasing power, which leads to market growth. How do we get there? Set representation goals within your company, at your agencies, on production crews, and media providers. Measure and track progress by asking HR for data in your company and asking your agencies, production crews, and media partners for their data. Then diagnose and act so you can improve results by adopting best practices from the many resources that the ANA has available for you. Step 2, eliminate systemic investment inequalities in the media and creative supply chain. The ANA estimates that only 5% of industry spending is invested in Black, Hispanic, Asian Pacific, and Native American owned and operated marketing suppliers. At a combined 40% of the U.S. population, we're clearly underinvesting. We must dismantle systemic investment inequalities in the media and creative supply chain so we can create access and investment. Our aspiration is to double the investment to 10% and then double again to 20%. How do we get there? Set spending goals with your procurement team on the percent that you aspire to spend among Black, Hispanic, Asian Pacific, Native American owned and operated marketing suppliers. Measure and track progress by asking procurement to give you the data. Then diagnose and act to improve results. Find and hire Black, Hispanic, Asian Pacific, Native American owned and operated media providers. Find the agencies, suppliers, give them access to your company. And then use ANA resources and organizations like the National Association of Black-Owned Broadcasters to help. Step 3, eliminate bias and racism by accurately portraying all humanity in advertising, content, and media. All content, from ads to broadcast programs to digital channels, should accurately portray every person, regardless of gender, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity, ability, religion, or age. That eliminates bias because people aren't stereotyped. They aren't objectified, misappropriated, diminished, or denigrated. And that leads to growth. CHR's Gender Equality Measure, or GEM, has proven that the accurate portrayal leads to as much as a 10% increase in trust ratings and up to a 25% increase in purchase. And we can now measure accurate portrayals of race, ethnicity, identity, and culture through the Alliance for Inclusive and Multicultural Marketing's Cultural Insights Impact Measure, or CIM, which is also correlated to driving growth. How do we get there in this case? Start measuring accurate portrayal in your ads and set goals for improvement by asking your market research team to use GEM and CIM in your ad testing. Join the #CHR movement and take full advantage of the resources they have available on eliminating gender bias through the accurate portrayal of women and girls in advertising, content, and media. And join the Alliance for Inclusive and Multicultural Marketing, or AIM, to take full advantage of resources on multicultural marketing. And step 4, eliminate hateful and harmful content online. There is still too much hateful, denigrating, discriminatory, and harmful content online. There's no place for this type of content. It erodes trust, creates divisiveness, drives bias and racism. It's bad for society, and it's bad for business. Consequently,
We are all spending way too much time reviewing and monitoring to ensure that our brands are not on or near hateful content. This must end. How do we get there? Adopt common definitions for brand safety as established by the Global Alliance for Responsible Media, or GARM. Join GARM and hold media providers and platforms accountable to eliminate hateful and harmful content. Then, measure performance and act by asking platforms for data on your business or running your own diagnostics. When you determine that the standards aren't met, take action that's right for your business, because there is no excuse for hateful and harmful content online. So the last question is, where can we get help? Just giving you the roadmap for equality and inclusion. Achieve equal representation. Eliminate systemic investment inequalities. Eliminate bias and racism through accurate portrayal. And eliminate hateful and harmful content online. The ANA has the resources you can use. Choose which areas are most important for your business and get started to take the next step on your journey. Let's double down as an industry to be a force for good and a force for growth on equality and inclusion.
Indeed, there has never been a better time to be a CMO. And there has never been a more important time for us all to come together as the leaders of this industry to drive our common growth agenda. Remember, these should not simply be words. They must become our mandates. Think about what change we can create when we all do it together. We ask you to please join us and get involved as we work together to create value for each other as peers, for our brands, for our industry, and for the people we serve. Please visit anamasterscircle.com to learn how to get involved. I'm truly humbled that so many of you have already stepped up to join our leadership community, and I am amazed at the progress that we have already made. I'm looking forward to being a force for good and a force for growth together with all of you. Thank you very much. Technology and data are going to be truly the enablers of a transformation of marketing into the future. I'm committed to leverage both these and drive a cultural transformation in my function, in my company, and in the industry.
I'm a Nike board member and mother of two, and I am committed to driving growth and good, powered by data and technology.
I'm committed to driving growth and good by tirelessly advocating B2H, which is business to humans, or B4H, brands for humans. I believe marketers must always champion this as we strive to serve the humans at the heart of our business.
I'm committed to being a force for good and a force for growth at P&G and in the industry by achieving equality in the media and creative supply chain, eliminating systemic inequalities in the marketing ecosystem, accurately portraying all humanity in advertising and media to eliminate bias, eliminating hateful content online, and leveling the playing field with media transparency. These steps will drive efficiency and effectiveness for growth and free up capacity to join forces and create content for good.
I am committed to driving growth and good by working to ensure data is used transparently to bring incredible experiences to our customers, and to use our scale and reach to bring action in support of improvements in our environment, our economies, and society.
I'm committed to driving growth and good by working on more human and personalized experiences for our customers, by leveraging the voice we have through partnerships as a force for good, and by driving the success of a diverse and an inclusive team.